The stale airport air hit me like a wall, thick with the promise of a new life, a future free from the constraints I'd known back in Nigeria. America, land of opportunity, they called it. My heart emitted against my ribs a frantic drumbeat of hope and trepidation. I clutched the handle of my worn suitcase. The leather smoothed beneath my sweaty palm. It wasn't exactly the grand welcome I'd envisioned. The customs officer, a woman with eyes as cold and grey as a winter sky, had scrutinized my visa with a suspicion that felt personal. Her questions, delivered in a clipped, impatient tone, had painted me as a potential criminal before I had even stepped foot on American soil. Finally, I was through. Relief washed over me as I navigated the labyrinthine corridors of JFK searching for my cousin Deli. I spotted him near baggage claim, a broad smile splitting his face. Ikenna, welcome brother, welcome to America. He engulfed me in a hug, his warmth a stark contrast to the icy reception I just endured. The drive to Deli's apartment in Queens was a blur of towering buildings and honking cars. The sheer scale of everything was overwhelming. Deli chattered excitedly, pointing out landmarks and rattling off information. I tried to absorb it all, but my mind was still reeling. The apartment was small but clean, the air thick with the aroma of jollof rice. After a much-needed shower, I sat with Dili sharing a plate. "So, how was the flight?" he asked, his eyes full of genuine concern. "Long," I replied, "but I'm here now. Ready to start." His smile faltered slightly. "It won't always be easy. Ikenna, this place, it can be hard on a black man." I dismissed his concerns with a wave of my hand. "I'm not afraid of hard work, Deli. I'm here to build a life for myself." He nodded slowly, but I saw the shadow of something unspoken in his eyes. My optimism started to erode faster than I anticipated. The first week was a crash course in American bureaucracy. Applying for a social security number, opening a bank account, navigating the subway system. Each task felt like scaling a mountain. Then came the job hunt. I had a degree in engineering from a reputable university back home, but here it seemed to count for little. "They want American experience," Dale explained. "Frustration, lace." One afternoon, after another fruitless interview, I decided to walk back to the apartment. The sun was beating down and my shirt was plastered to my back. As I crossed the street, a car swerved, nearly clipping me. The driver, a middle-aged white man with a furious expression, rolled down his window. "Watch where you're going, you people," he yelled, spitting the words. I froze, stunned. My hand instinctively went to my chest. The casual cruelty of his words, the blatant racism, struck me with the force of a physical blow. I wanted to shout back to defend myself, but I was paralyzed. He sped away, leaving me trembling on the sidewalk. That night, the taste of jollof rice turned to ash in my mouth. "What happened?" he asked, his voice low and concerned. I told him about the incident. His face hardened. "I told you, Ikenna. This is what it's like. You have to be careful." Careful. Was that all I could be? Was I condemned to live in fear, constantly looking over my shoulder? Weeks turned into months, and the rejections continued. I took a job as a delivery driver to make ends meet, navigating the city's chaotic streets, enduring the indifferent stares and occasional insults. The hope that had brought me here was slowly being suffocated by a creeping sense of despair. One evening, as I was making a delivery to a brownstone in a quiet, affluent neighborhood, I noticed something strange. A figure stood at an upstairs window, partially obscured by curtains, watching me. The figure was silhouetted, making it impossible to discern any features. I dismissed it as my imagination, fueled by paranoia. But the next day, it happened again. The same brownstone, the same figure at the window. This time I was certain someone was watching me. I mentioned it to Dele, but he shrugged it off. Probably just some bored housewife, Ikenna. Don't let it get to you. But it did get to me. The feeling of being watched gnawed at me, making me increasingly anxious and jumpy. I started taking different routes, varying my delivery times, trying to avoid the brownstone. One night as I was heading home, I noticed a car following me. It was a black sedan, its windows tinted dark. I tried to shake it off, but it stayed behind me, matching my every move. My heart pounded in my chest. Was this connected to the figure in the window? I turned down a narrow side street, hoping to lose the car. It followed. Panic surged through me. I accelerated, weaving through traffic, desperately trying to escape. Finally, I managed to lose it, but the fear lingered long after. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being targeted, that something sinister was brewing. But by who? And why? Was it simply because of the color of my skin, or was there something more? I started to investigate the brownstone. I spent hours observing it from a distance, trying to get a glimpse of the person who was watching me. I learned that it was owned by a man named Arthur Sterling, a wealthy lawyer with a reputation for being ruthless. I dug deeper, searching for any connection between Sterling and me, and I found nothing. It made no sense. Why would a powerful lawyer be interested in a struggling immigrant delivery driver? Then I discovered something that chilled me to the bone. Sterling had a history of racial bias. Years ago, he had been accused of discriminatory hiring practices at his law firm. The case had been settled out of court, but the allegations remained. Could it be that simple? Was I being targeted simply because I was black? The thought was both terrifying and infuriating. I wanted to confront Sterling, to demand an explanation, but I knew that would be foolish. He had power, resources. I decided to confide in Dale. He listened intently, his brow furrowed. This is serious, Ikenna, I said. Finally, you need to be careful. Don't do anything rash. He suggested that I go to the police, but I hesitated. I didn't trust them. I'd heard stories, seen the statistics. As a black man, I was more likely to be viewed with suspicion, to be treated unfairly. Instead, I decided to take matters into my own hands. That night, armed with nothing but my wits and a growing sense of desperation, I returned to the brownstone. I waited in the shadows, watching, observing. Hours passed. The city slept. Finally, I saw movement. A figure emerged from the front door, shrouded in darkness. It was Sterling. He walked quickly, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He got into a waiting car and drove off. I followed. The car led me to a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Sterling disappeared inside. I waited outside, my heart pounding in my chest. What was going on? What was Sterling up to? After what felt like an eternity, Sterling emerged, accompanied by two other men. They were talking in hushed tones, their faces grim. I watched as they drove away, leaving me alone in the darkness. I knew I had to find out what was inside that warehouse. He hesitated. Breaking into the warehouse was a risky move, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was happening, that I was somehow caught in the middle of it. I found a loose panel in the back of the warehouse and squeezed through. The inside was thick with the smell of dust and decay. I fumbled for my phone, using its flashlight to illuminate the darkness. What I saw made my blood run cold. The warehouse was filled with crates stacked high. I approached one and pried it open. Inside, I found weapons, assault rifles, handguns, ammunition. I stumbled back, horrified. What was Sterling planning? Who were these weapons for? Then I saw something else. A stack of flyers emblazoned with racist slogans and hateful imagery. They were promoting a white supremacist rally scheduled for the following weekend. It all clicked into place. Sterling wasn't just a racist. He was a white supremacist planning to use violence to spread his hate. And I, a black immigrant in his neighborhood, had become a target. I had to stop him. But how? As I was contemplating my next move, I heard a noise, footsteps. I quickly extinguished my phone's flashlight and hid behind a stack of crates. Sterling and his men entered the warehouse. They were talking, their voices. Everything is ready, Sterling said. The police will be too late. What about the Nigerian? One of the men asked. He's been snooping around. Don't worry about him, Sterling replied. He'll be dealt with. My blood ran cold. They knew about me. They were coming for me. I had to get out of there. I slipped out of the warehouse unseen and ran. I ran as fast as I could, my lungs burning, my heart pounding. I knew I was in grave danger. But I also knew that I couldn't run forever. I had to fight back. I contacted the police, laying out everything I had discovered. To my surprise, they took me seriously. Perhaps Sterling's past had finally caught up with him. They raided the warehouse, seizing the weapons and arresting Sterling and his men. The white supremacist rally was cancelled. I gave my statement, recounting everything I had seen and heard. As I spoke, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I had done the right thing, but I also knew that the fight wasn't over. Racism was still a powerful force in America. It wouldn't disappear overnight. Sterling eventually posted bail, and I knew he would come after me. I had exposed him, threatened his power. He wouldn't let that go unpunished. I changed my name, moved to a different city, and started over. I found a new job, made new friends. I tried to forget about what had happened, to put it behind me, but the memory of those shadowed streets, of the chilling figure in the window, of the hatred in Sterling's eyes, would always stay with me. 1 year later, as I was walking down the street, I saw him. Sterling, he was standing across the street watching me. Our eyes met. His were filled with rage and hatred. He hadn't forgotten me, and I hadn't forgotten him. I knew that this wasn't over. The shadows still lingered, the fight still continued. The land of opportunity had shown me its dark underbelly, and I knew I would have to keep fighting for my place in it. The only way to survive was to keep moving forward, armed with vigilance, resilience, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest of times, hope can still prevail.